was really eye-opening. This was something that I think completely changed how I think about teaching, how I think about living my life in general, the things that I learned during the Spector Warren Fellowship.
I wanted to understand deeper themes. I wanted to understand other things that have happened, other groups of people who have been targeted for various reasons and other atrocities that have happened, which the Spector Warren Fellowship very much did.
As a counseling student, we look at how trauma affects not only those who are immediate sufferers, but how trauma has become a recurring theme for how we understand culture. I thought it would be helpful for me as I develop as a scholar and as a counselor to engage in real critical research and discovery.
I knew we talked about it in like social studies classes in high school. We talked about it a little bit in college, but there was nothing that specifically spoke to it. There was no program that was like, this is what we're going to talk about. It just wasn't there. And so I looked at this class as like, this is a focus on the Holocaust. Maybe I can draw some themes that could connect.
So much of my learning was done as a student and as a humanitarian. Just, this is what's happened in our history, kind of a presentation of the facts and building empathy and understanding for what people have endured and what they've went through. And then going to the fellowship program in Houston, it was now with the responsibility of a teacher. And this starts, these ideas, these concepts start when you're little. They start with the triangle of being an upstander, a bystander, a bully, a perpetrator. And so what were we gonna bring into our classrooms? How? And it was so geared to, I knew already I was gonna be a K-6 teacher. So how are these lessons applicable to a 4th grade classroom? You know, how do I build community? How do I build an environment where people are comfortable and safe and they feel not only do they have comfort in their own safety, but how do they feel comfortable advocating for a friend?
I think what really blew me away about the trip was that we were surrounded by scholars, historians, artists. So we learned about Holocaust, we learned about genocide, but we did not situate it within one history. We looked at what was happening 40 years before and 400 years before and 600 years in the future maybe. What is our world coming to, and how can we be active in not only understanding but arresting and preventing genocide?
The fellowship itself, we did so many different things. We did media, we learned how to teach through the arts, we did music, we sang. Nothing is better than a well-rounded experience from all different, not only that the content itself touches on so many different subjects, but also learning it through all of those different subjects.
We did art, we did poetry, we had a historian come and speak, and there were so many different angles and so many ways that it could be integrated into education that wasn't just history and English. I mean, I teach English, but to see music, to see art, to see different types of subjects all intertwined, I was really impressed by that.
You know, some people go through things and they're not able to get past it. But these people, maybe they're not past it, but they're using what they've learned and what they've gone through to educate others and really help everyone else have more knowledge on what's happening. After I did the fellowship, I actually worked a whole semester and I wrote an entire unit plan on how I would use Holocaust and genocide education in my classroom. And it's working with students on things that have happened in their life and personal memories and how you can use art and other subjects. You could really change this lesson plan and how you could use that to help them, to get through this.
It's always the stories. The stories always resonate with me as far as a pedagogical tool. That's what I use in my classrooms, are stories. Even people, when they share their stories of themselves, they're not necessarily experiences about genocides, but rather, traumatic experiences they've had in their lives.
I think that it's good as an educator to not just think of your content as being, for example, for me to just think English is reading and writing. I mean, that is, in terms of skills, what I focus on the most. But in terms of different social justice issues or different themes that we're learning about, they can be approached in a lot of different ways. So we can do things like music and we can do things like art to help get students to understand important issues.
Hate comes from a really, really horrible place, and we don't talk about it enough, I think, sometimes.
It changes how you think about things. I mean, you can hear about it and you can look at it in a book, but actually being at a place where these things are right in front of you, it makes it real.
The investigation that I have kids do, the resources, that all pulls from this idea of what is our identity, who has power, how do we use power? But then I ask them, so what? And what are we doing now? And what do you feel is your obligation?
Because what is important, I think, is also for them to find an issue that they do care about, so that hopefully by the time they do go out into the world, they're able to see things that are happening in the news and think that they can do something about it. So I think that would be my biggest takeaway from the Spector Warren Fellowship, is to not be just like standing by idly when things are happening.
History is fluid, and that we learn new stories and we learn new ways of understanding what's happened and what's currently happening in our world. So for me, I take that into every session that I'm in with an understanding that I believe my clients. I believe the story that they're weaving, and I believe that I can be there as somebody who can bear witness to their life. I don't worry so much about what did or didn't happen as much as how we come to an understanding.